Hi guys, it's Cherie from Paper Pieces and Leftovers. So today I'm bringing you the calendar bear, and it's going to be the month of October. It is Franklin, and in this file you get July to December. January to June come in another set. So this first color that I'm working on for the moon is the color Banana, and I used 2 inks by Tim Holtz. They are in the colors Squeezed Lemonade and Fossilized Amber. I took a blending brush and went around the outer edges a couple times, mixing both colors at the end to get them to blend together for a smoother transition. And if I didn't use the Tim Holtz inks, I would use the color Glitz by Catherine Pooler, just because it is what I use on every other banana color paper if I don't want a smooth transition of colors and I want it more bold like this. So this is Franklin's Muzzle. It's cut out in the color Sand, and I used Memento's Peanut Brittle to go around the outer edges with the dauber. These are his inner ear pads. They're cut out in the color Peony, and I'm going around it with Catherine Pooler's Do-Si-Do. All of them are listed in the comments under the post on my Facebook page. Design Space, Cricut Design Space, I did cut them out. I only changed the width with the lock on. I changed the width to 10.5, and that automatically changed the height to 8.124. I do speed the videos up when I do my voiceovers just because the video would have been over 40 minutes long, and I got it down to a little under 20 minutes. But sometimes when I'm watching shows, my series, programs, whatever, I get lost in the moment and I don't really like all the dead space, the dead air, when I'm sitting there inking the same pieces and I go deep into thought if my color's dark enough. So this is the color Caramel by American Crafts. All of my paper is textured from American Crafts. I will let you know if it's a different brand. The 2 purples are going to be a different brand, and they're both Basil. They're in the color Velvet and Heidi. You can get them from 12 by 12 Cardstock Shop. You just have to go into the search bar and type in the word. I'm going around my outer edges with the color Sandcastle by Catherine Pooler. And if you need a specific list of inks and cardstock colors, like I said, they're on my Facebook. I will try to put them in the comments here as well, just to kind of help you guys. For reference, you do not have to use the same colors I use. You guys don't have to use any of the tools I use. I just do this so you guys can see the process and how to layer the SVG pieces, because sometimes there's a lot of pieces and trying to figure it out, it's not always easy. I still make mistakes. Luckily, I can fix them or hide them. So I'm going to go around all of the pieces. With his arm, though, one of the arms, it does need to be inked completely. Actually, ink them both. I thought that they were tucked behind his body, but they weren't. One of them's actually in front of his body. So go ahead and go around them completely. I did do that after I got done inking, and I went and looked at all my pieces to do the dry piecing before I put the glue on it, and I realized that the part of the arm that I didn't ink actually is visible. It didn't go behind his body. So here's the purples that I used on the hat, and these are the 2 that are Basil. They're the only 2 colors that aren't by American Crafts, and they're in the color Velvet and Heidi. Velvet is the darker purple and Heidi is the lighter purple. And I used the color Glam by Catherine Pooler to go around the velvet. And then I used Flirty Fuchsia by Catherine Pooler to go around Heidi. Right now I'm just going to use my little pom-pom and my crocodile clip to get into the groove where my dauber won't reach. That way it doesn't end up going too far in and it's not correctable. You don't have to ink the bottom of this because it's actually going to be hidden by the lighter purple band, but I just went ahead because I was watching one of my programs and I wasn't really looking at the picture of what to ink and what not to ink. If you want to save that smidge of ink, you don't have to ink the bottom of the hat because it's going to be behind the band. So now here's the Heidi, the lighter purple with Flirty Fuchsia ink. I got my daubers from Amazon and they are all color coded in pink, purple, blue, green, and black. And then I just take a Sharpie and write on it. That way I don't mix some of my colors. So here for the pumpkin stem, I ended up using the cardstock in the color Grass by American Crafts. And I'm using Catherine Pooler's Grass Skirt to go around it. And I'm just going to use a finger dauber, not a pom-pom. I wanted it pretty dark so it was prominent, so I went around it a few times just to get it to my desired preference. You can go around it once or you can actually just glue it together without inking. This is the glass cleaner I use. It's by Method from Target. It's ammonia free. I'm not partnered with them. It's just, it works great cleaning my fingertips so I don't transfer color. And it's not harsh at all. There's no ammonia. So this orange is in the color Apricot by American Crafts. And I'm going around it with Catherine Pooler's Orange Twist. I decided to use the finger dauber instead of my pom-pom because where the little divot is, the front part of the pumpkin's going to cover that. And I was just making sure that I didn't need to go in with the pom-pom there, but it ended up working out perfectly. So here I used a couple different color grays, but I only used 2 inks. So the color cardstocks that I'm using are going to be Ash, Smoke, Shadow, and Graphite. And they are all by American Crafts. And the 2 inks I'm using are Twilight and Blackjack. This piece here, after I inked it, I ran it through a sticker maker just because I didn't want to fuss with the art glitter glue because it dries so fast, and if it wasn't right where I needed it to be lined up on the top of the coffin, I was gonna cry because if it's uneven it would just throw me off emotionally. And here I'm just gonna dip into the Twilight ink and I am going to go over my corners with the pom-pom because the finger dauber was a little bit too big to get into the grooves and I wanted to completely get all areas of this since it goes on the front. It's one of the focal pieces and you'll see with the finished product. So here's the little piece that I actually ran through my sticker maker after it was done. And like I said, it was just because I didn't want the art glitter glue to make it stick instantly and then not be able to move it and it ended up being off center. And I went around it first with the finger dauber and then I went with my pom-pom just to get in all of the areas and to get it as even as possible. Here I'm still using my color Twilight to go around the edges of the coffin. This is going to be the base of the top and the bottom. And I haven't switched colors. All I did was change the amount of ink that I apply for the darker effect because I used the same ink on the lighter grays and you can't even really tell that they're inked with the same color. I had to actually go back and fix that because I said not the same color, but I'm still using Twilight. Alright. We're going to go around the edges of this a few times just because I wanted it a little bit darker, but I did not want to dip into the blackjack or a black. I wanted to still keep it soft because the skeleton's going to go in it and I didn't want it to take too much away from the skeleton. So here is going to be where I mix both of my colors, and this goes under the cross on the front, the light gray cross, the first piece that I inked. This is the shadow behind it, and I mixed both colors because I didn't want it super dark, but then I didn't want it so light you couldn't really tell. The left side of this I didn't have to ink. I wasn't looking at the picture while I was inking it. If you don't want to ink it, you don't have to because it's going to be hidden as the cross lays over the left side of that. And I just took my dauber to fill in a little bit more because, as I said, I didn't want to use black, and I didn't want it a solid dark gray, so I just filled in the little spots. So here's where I'm using the solid blackjack, and this is going to be the inner part of the coffin where the skeleton is glued down onto. And the skeleton, I went ahead and ran him through the Xyron sticker maker, and I laid Nuvo glow-in-the-dark neon drops in the color Apple Sour over him and let them dry. You'll see the paws and during the paper piecing portion, and then all of a sudden he'll be on that piece of the coffin. But I didn't want to sit there and fuss with it because I wasn't sure how I was going to lay him out, as the pattern shows him kind of hanging out of it, but there's no support for his hand, and I didn't want his hand getting bent. So for the buckle on the hat, I actually just use my Sharpie in the color gold, and I go around it a couple times. And now this is a Shimmer Sticks dauber top in the color gold. It's sheer, and it is from Joann's. I'm sure you can get it from other places. It's by the same company that my little silicone tip tools to get the glue up are from. And this is just extra. You could cut it out in gold cardstock if you want. This is just something I chose to do because I like to play with textures and colors. And now we're on to the paper piecing portion of the video. So it's the same concept I do in every other video where I start with his legs. I do trim off the top portion of the legs where the body would cover, just because sometimes the weight of the books will cause it to indent. And it's just my preference. It's not anything you have to do, but I do lay my legs on the base, put the body on, push the body up just a little bit, and trace underneath the body so that way I know where to cut the top of the legs off. After the legs are on, I'm going to go ahead and place the body as so, and I try not to push down too much where the legs, the top of the legs are, just that way then it doesn't indent anyways because the paper's wet, damp from the glue. I usually put the legs on, or the feet on, before the ears, but I went ahead and just jumped on the ears. The flat side faces outwards, and you can see it when you're holding the piece. There is a flat side. And generally with these patterns from MarjorieAnnDesigns.com, any of the Franklin bears, the larger ear is almost always on the left side. They are two different sizes. So I went ahead and now I'm going to put on the feet, and I put the left one on first since I put the left leg on first. That way they laid over each other nicely. And now I'm going to go up and put the ear pads on. It doesn't really matter if you start with the ears and then the legs, but the legs have to go on before the body and the feet unless he's posed where he's sitting on something or his legs are spread out, almost like he's doing the splits in the one set he's holding a pumpkin. After that portion is done, I go ahead and place my face on. I use my little bone folder squeegee to go over the back just to make sure that the glue and the paper are contacting each other for a better stick. After I get his muzzle on, I then use a piece of acetate to trace the line going down the muzzle, and that's just because some days my tremors are really bad and I have a squiggly line instead of a straight line. You can use almost anything, just acetate I can see through it to get it in the middle of his muzzle. After the line is drawn on, I use a micron pen, the number 005. I place his nose on. Now this file, the arms actually are going on the opposite side. I'm used to that arm being behind his body on the other side, where it's almost like his hands are behind, his arms are behind his back, and then his hands would be in front of him holding something. But this file, that is actually, that arm is going to go behind the coffin he's holding. I am in the habit of adding my white gel pen to my inner ear pads, but his hat covers it. So it was really just extra. I didn't need to do that, but that's okay. It's just habit. Now for the band that goes on the hat, the bottoms are not going to line up. The bottom of the top portion of the hat actually goes approximately halfway down the little band. And I slid it up and down until I made sure that my edges were all flush with each other. And now I don't think it matters which way the hat goes. There is a rounder part and a flatter part. I used the flatter part on the bottom of the hat. Just that way then it wasn't going over his eyes, since I use a different eye shape for mine. He does come with little oval eyes, and then I would probably flip where the rounder part of the hat goes down further. Just that way then it covers more of his face. After that was completed, I went ahead and grabbed my pumpkin. You have the bigger portion that goes in the back and the small piece that goes on the top of the pumpkin. I do glue my stems behind the base piece instead of in between. It really doesn't matter which way you do it. You could even put it in the front if you chose to. And his little mouth. I have not decided if I'm going to add glow-in-the-dark glue or glow-in-the-dark Nuvo drops, or if I'm going to do anything to his mouth. I haven't gotten that far yet. I'm still debating. I'm thinking about adding orange glow-in-the-dark Nuvo drops. They're neon. You can get them online, Scrapbook, scrapbook.com. Amazon did not have them. I actually looked prior to doing the voiceover. So now the coffin, this is the part that's going to go on the backside that the skeleton is going to be actually placed on. And I was just making sure that they were the same size before actually gluing it down, in case I had to recut out that piece, because I wanted to make sure that there was enough of a border around the darker insert to the coffin before I placed it permanently and called it a day. Now, the little white piece of paper that I peeled off that part to is a Xyron sticker maker. And it's just because I wanted to ensure that I could move it a little bit if I had to. If you've worked with art glitter glue, it's almost an instant permanent stick once it touches. So the Xyron sticker maker, it is permanent, but as long as I don't push it down, I can lift it and adjust it as needed. And now I'm just going to put the cross inside of the little, I don't know what that light gray part is. I guess it would be an etching. Here I used white cardstock for this cloud, and I used Tim Holtz black soot to go around it to give it the shading. I did not use any other kind of ink like Catherine Pooler because I wanted it to be softer. Now that is the skeleton on the Xyron sticker maker. And that was so I could ink him with the Nuvo neon apple sour drops, so he would glow in the dark. And the witch is shiny because I used Nuvo crystal glaze drops, just so she wasn't blending into the moon, and she just had a little bit more of a prominence. And it's extra. I'm extra. I'm okay with that. I love adding textures and just more to my pieces just to make them customized for myself. And I went ahead and glued the hat on at an angle. I'm only gluing half of his arm because he's going to be holding the coffin. And I had already peeled off my little skeleton and stuck him down to the coffin. I'm charging him with light right now so you guys can see it. It's in the comments on my Facebook page, but yes, the drops glow in the dark, great. They are just so much of an extra bonus. I just haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the coffin, if I want it laying on the ground more or not. And this is the final piece, you guys. I will make up my mind how I want to glue that coffin down eventually. I probably won't do it until I do my layout, but here's the drops I used and the links are on my Facebook page. Have a good day, guys.